Hello everyone, I'm working on this Hamilton Beach Model 31197S. It's one of these ovens with the convection feature. You can bake, broil, rotisserie, and convection. Well, my convection, the motor burnt out. And it's kind of funny because it's a dual shaft motor and it's threaded on either end, and it's I did a part number search for it hoping that I would find a replacement, and I wasn't able to find a replacement. So most of the time I would show you a disassembly video, but today I'm going to show you a reassembly video because I'm going to put this thing back together, and when I do finally find a motor that fits, I'm going to then put it back together. But as it goes now, I do not have a motor for it, and I will not be able to use the convection feature. The bake and everything else works fine. It's just that this blower motor has, called it quits, and it's kind of difficult to find a dual shaft threaded motor. To take the motor out of here, you had to remove this fan from the inside, so then you'd have to remove this cover. I've noticed that some of them are screwed on, but this model was actually riveted, and so I drilled out the rivets, and now I'm going to put this cover back on using some number 8 screws that by 1/2 inch that I picked up at the hardware store, just something simple. So first thing is we're going to put this cover back here, so then I can reattach the rotisserie motor back here, okay, to this point that comes through. So that's the first thing. So line up the rotisserie hole right here with the rotisserie shaft, and I'm going to send that through. And there you go, okay? And that's just held and retained by this little rubber ring here. So no biggie. And then I'm going to start with filling with the actual screws that hold this in place, okay? So let's go. And then what I'll do is I'll show you how this thing came apart, because there was a couple screws that really threw me. Everything else came apart easy, but there's a couple screws right at the top of the oven that really were interesting. So here we go. I'm gonna then start it up, and then we're gonna see if we can just screw that in there. And I'm just gonna use my little driver here and line it up and hope for the best. Okay, and as long as it doesn't come out, I'm fine with it. Okay, so I think I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to put the rest on, and then we'll come back when we attach that. So give me a second. I got all the screws on except for the bottom two, because I figured if I'm going to have to ever take it apart again, I don't want to deal with it. But here for the rotisserie, you notice that there's in the motor there is a pin, okay, for this motor, and so you need to line up that, and there is a cotter pin that goes through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on, and these are the small screws that hold the motor in place. So basically I'm going to rotate it so I can get better access to the cotter pin, and then we're going to rotate it back into place when we know we are close. So there we go. I don't know if you can see it, but there you go, right there. And then I'm going to go inside, push the shaft in till I can get it lined up and rotated. There we go. And then get the cotter pin, which I have right here, and put that through the bottom like so. Okay, and it doesn't have to be great. And then we'll take and bend the cotter pin, okay, so it doesn't go anywhere for now. And then so it'll slide out, and then I'm going to put these right back on where they were, okay, right there. I believe that's one right there. Come on. And then get the other one on, and then the rotisserie function will be here. So let's go. Let me get this on here. But alright, I'll be right back. Alright, the bolts are mounted, so now we can put the cover on. Okay, so the cover comes next. Alright, and it's just a big cover, and then there's two bottom pieces to go with it. So here we go. Here's the cover. Okay, it's just a plastic cover with a vent. The side with the vent goes out here with that piece. So I'm going to push this back just a little bit so you can see. And I'm going to zoom out. And this thing will just go right on top like this and then slide in. And so when you take it apart, and then this piece slides underneath as you push it forward, okay, on both sides. There we go. So once this slides in over here, you know you're good right here, okay? But this is it. Underneath here, right here, are 2 screws. And the screws are pretty long. And that's so the final 2 screws that hold this on. So if you get all the screws on and this thing doesn't come loose, well, that's why. Because they got these 2 long screws holding that portion of it in place. So let's do the other stuff and get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the door, put this thing on its back, and then we're going to put the screws in place. Let's start with the ones in the back here, okay? So before we do the ones on the bottom. So here, turn it around, and we'll just put, they're all the same screws. All of them are these little flat jobs, so just put it in, bring it in, and then just, you know, put it down like that. This one's got a little bit of a tweak here, so I'm going to have to put a little bit effort into it, but otherwise you're just going to pull it all around the case here until it all fits, okay? So I'm going to go around and do that. Alright, I flipped it over on its back, and there's 2 screws, one on this side to hold the bottom plate in before you put the handle, these little grab bars on the bottom, and I left the screws there, and then those 4 screws, or 5 actually, screws are going to just mount this thing right here to cover up all the other stuff. So we're going to mount that into place. Alright, and you can't really get this one wrong because, you know, the same size goes on, you know, either side. So I'm just going to line up those screw holes, and then we're just going to put it down. And then we're going to do the other side to mount that side down on this side, and same thing. This side only has 3 screws, and then of course the cook bar goes on that side, but there's another screw, there's 4. There's one right here in the front by the control board. So I'm going to just line up the screw holes like so, and that ought to go right there. There we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open up the door here. I got all that on now. And open up the door, and then we're going to put the 2 screws. Alright, that goes inside there, and let me bring you down a little bit more, okay? Let's flip it over onto its side, that way you can see it even better. So I'm just going to flip this over, open the door, alright, and over here, I don't know if you can see it, but there is a place for a screw right there. Can you see that? Right there. Let me get a light. There's a place for a screw right here, okay, that holds that top part in. So, and it's a really extremely long screw, and then there's one right above it. So when you disassemble, don't forget to open this door and get that screw out, because otherwise this whole cover won't come off. But otherwise, that's it. And then this piece is now reassembled. I'll put the other pieces in it, and we'll only be able to use the one function. But hey, you know what? Until I get a new motor, that's it. But thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and have a really good day. Thank you.